Good evening. Good evening. I can't do that. I can go back to my old police voice. That worked. Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Steve Krokoff. I am your city manager, and according to Councilmember Crookley, I've already spoken too long. I'd like to thank you all for coming here tonight to celebrate Milton's 15th birthday, as well as to celebrate our great mayor, Mayor Lockwood. And as one of the cards says on the table, our best mayor yet. To start the proceedings, we invite you to please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Milton Police and Fire Honor Guard. And our pledge will be led by the Sons of the American Revolution. 3 of the original members were there for the mayor's first inauguration. Halt. Place. And colors. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order. Colors. Place. Colors. Place.
Oh, beautiful, or spacious sky, number waves of grain, or purple mountains, above the fruited plains, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy Lord with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy Lord with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Place. Please be seated. They were terrific, weren't they? How about another round of applause? So our city attorney, who unfortunately had to leave early, recently made an observation to me on the dais. He said, you know, it's crazy. Your city clerk and your land management manager, they look uncannily alike. Yes, that's our city attorney, and yes, they are twins. I would like to thank you guys. Are just so talented, and truthfully, in their day-to-day work here, they are phenomenal. I hear there's a third brother, and he doesn't even need to interview. He's got a job if he wants to come in. And while we're thanking people, can we just give a quick round of applause for the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring tonight's beverages? So I've been here nearly 7 years, and I've had the privilege of really getting to know and appreciate what makes the city so special. And it really starts with an engaged citizenry. Many of those people who are here today, you truly love the city, understand it, and partner with our elected officials, our city staff, many of whom are here as well. And it makes Milton the best it can be. And honestly, and I'm not just saying this because I live and work here, Milton is the best city anywhere. There's a lot of people responsible for making that happen, and we're fortunate to have several of them in the room tonight. I'd like to thank Representative Jan Jones, State Senator Brandon Beach, State Senator John Albers, Fulton County Commissioners Bob Ellis and Liz Hausman, and we had a blast from the past tonight. Our former city manager, Chris Lagerbloom, who, where are you, Chris? You might not want to applaud. He's the reason I'm here. It would really be impossible to mention everyone who works relentlessly, all the volunteers that make this city what it is. But I'm just going to point out a few. Bill Purdy with the Milton Arts Council. Bill, that's an entrance, Bill. Brian Dolan with the Milton First Responders Foundation. Jeff Dufresne, I saw you earlier. Jeff with the Historical Society. Where are you, Jeff? Oh, thanks. Those are just a great example of some organizations that make this city who we are. But then we have the groups who really put in a significant amount of time as our volunteers. I see we've got Scott Stahowski from our Parks and Rec Board. He's our chair. Scott. Our equestrian committee's Tony Rich. Tony, you here? There he is in the back. And finally, Todd Chernick, who chaired both our BZA and our Comprehensive Planning Advisory Committee, which was no easy task. Todd, where are you? I'm sure he's here somewhere. I'd also like to recognize our city judge, the Honorable Judge Brian Hansworth. Judge Hansworth. There he is. I'm actually a cop. I'm supposed to be able to pick people out. I apologize. I'd also like to recognize our city council. With us tonight, we've got Councilmember Laura Bentley. Councilmember Carol Cookerly. Councilmember Peyton Jameson. Councilmember Joe Longoria. Councilmember Rick Morrig. And finally, Councilmember Paul Moore. And I believe I saw former Councilmember Bert Hewitt here. Bert, you're here somewhere, yes? Bert, we've been looking into seeing how we can get a hold of part of Cherokee County to get you back on the council. And I believe I also saw some incoming members. Juliet Johnson? Juliet? And Andrea Verhoff. Andrea? I'd like to recognize Dawn, the mayor's far better half. His daughter, Morgan, and her husband, Bryce. Evans and his significant other, Carly. And the mayor and Dawn's youngest, Charlie. Also with us tonight is Mayor's brother Jim and his brand new bride Robin. Jim and Robin. And finally, who could forget, of course, the mayor's mom, Sharon. Please allow me to offer a collective thank you on behalf of the city and especially the staff for sharing your father and husband and son and brother with us for so long. So thank you for that sacrifice. So that's all you need to hear from me tonight. I'm going to turn it over to the people you came to hear speak. I feel fortunate to be able to introduce our first featured speaker tonight. You may know her as the state representative for House District 47, or as Georgia's Speaker Pro Tem, the second highest position in the Georgia House of Representatives. But around here, she's known as the mother of Milton for her critical role for some 15 years ago, and she remains a resident. Ladies and gentlemen, Representative Jan Jones.
Well, I'm not going to presuppose that you came here to hear me, but thank you very much for saying that. I did not prepare remarks, and I'm glad I didn't, because I would have put them aside. Just looking at all the people here and hearing about all those who are involved in the historical society and the Parks and Rec and planning and all these, who could have imagined 16 or 17 years ago, when it was just an idea to create our own city, that all of you would actually shape it and be able to be an active part of an area that prior to that had just been an unincorporated area. And when we were unincorporated, no one since 1930, when it was merged with Fulton County, previously Milton County, no one had ever served in this 25 square mile area as an elected person. We'd never had an elected commissioner, which we do now in Bob Ellis. We'd never had a city council. We'd never had anyone who actually we knew and represented us and we had elected influence with. And that's what the city started out as, an area where we could have real local control. And you could decide who represented you, and you could call them if you liked, or as Joe and those who are elected knows, or if you didn't like the decisions they made. But more importantly, you could be an involved part. And I just want to tell you, I could not have imagined 17 years ago when I introduced the bill and we passed it the next year, and then we had the election, the referendum, 86% of those who lived here voted yes, that they wanted a city. And then a mere months later, when we had the city council mayor elections, I'll just say this city absolutely picked the right person to be the first mayor, Joe. I didn't know Joe very well, but I've come to know him over these last 15 years. And he has the manner and the finesse to have pulled together what was really it was difficult in the beginning. I used to tell people, please excuse the children who are here, it's like birthing a teenager. When you create a city out of nothing, at the time I sort of guessed it was about 17 or 18,000. It was probably about 25,000. Now we're 45,000. And it started from nothing. And all of a sudden you had parks and planning and public safety and fire and all these functions and all these boards and all these people who had different ideas and felt very invested in what it should be. And I mentioned to someone earlier tonight, the one comment that sort of was seared in my memory early on when we were deciding what the borders were going to be with Roswell and Alfred, and there were areas that legitimately wanted to be in Roswell. They felt more like they should be in Roswell. There are areas that absolutely should have been in Alpharetta. And there was one neighborhood, and a sort of leader in that neighborhood said to me, "We don't want to be in a city on training wheels." And I thought, well, I wonder how she feels today. Because now there's probably no address more in Georgia that people want to call home than Milton, Georgia. And And a big part of that is all the city council members that have served here from the very beginning, who came together. It was, democracy is messy, and for good reason. If you want it to be unmessy, go to a communist country. It's not messy. They just tell you how it's going to be. You come to a democracy, it's kind of messy because we have different ideas of how to do it. And that was how it was in the beginning with Milton. But it needed to be that. We needed to go through that for it to become what it is now, what we all of you represent with your involvement and your support of the city and your involvement in different ways. And I just want to say, Joe, I couldn't be prouder for you to be the first mayor. I couldn't be prouder of the staff. I could not have imagined a building like this and a flavor of this place that the staff, which I'm so grateful to, and all the volunteers have created. This is a place that I could not have even dreamed of, but I'm so proud to call home. I'm so proud to have been a part of, and I look forward to it being my home a long time. And I just want to say I have something to present to Joe that, as they mentioned to me, do you have the proclamation? I said, I do. It's out in the car. I'll be right back. And, but because we had special session recently, and I realized that Joe's term was coming to an end because of term limits, certainly not because we wouldn't have kept electing him. I just wanted to present this to you, Joe. It is a resolution I'm not going to read, but it just recognizes him for his forever role in creating the special place that we all call home. And I'm just so proud for you to have been the first mayor.
Thank you very much, Representative Jones. I'd like to next welcome Brandon Beach to say a few words. Brandon Beach has been well known in these parts for years, including service on the Alpharetta City Council, one-time president and CEO of the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, and the executive director of the North Fulton Community Improvement District. Since 2013, he's been the state senator for District 21, which includes part of Milton. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce Senator Beach. Senator.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Happy birthday, Milton. Joe, before I get into thanking you, I want to thank Madam Speaker for introducing that bill 17 years ago to create the city of Milton and your leadership and vision on that. Thank you very much. We're lucky to have her. I don't know that y'all realize how lucky we are to have the second most powerful person in the House of Representatives in the city of Milton. So thank you, Jan, for all you do. And Joe, before I thank you, I want to echo what Steve said. I want to thank Don and the children for what you do and allowing him to serve. I can tell you I couldn't do it without Chantel and my kids' support. And anybody that's elected knows it's a team sport, and it's a tough sport. I know we had somebody that just got elected, Andre. I mean, it's tough. It's a bruising sport, and I want to just thank you for all you did to allow him to serve 15 years and be out at nights and be at council meetings till late at night. So thank you, Don, and the family. Let's give them a round of applause. I've been fortunate. Our families grew up together, Chantel and I and Dawn and our kids, and they all went to school together, and they've all known each other. And then Joe was my landlord. I was in corporate America when I first moved here to Alpharetta, and then our company got bought. Quaker State got bought by Pennzoil, and I took a package, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. And I went home one day about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I told Chantel, I said, I'm going to open a restaurant. And she said, have you been drinking? What are you doing? And I talked to Joe, and I opened Nantucket Sandwich Shop. I don't know if any of y'all remember that, but we opened Nantucket, and we had it 5 years, and he was my landlord. And he was a great landlord, and I knew he'd be a great mayor because he wanted his rent on time every month. So I said, this guy is a fiscal conservative, and I can back him. But I will tell you that we got to Steve Beacham's house. Is Steve here tonight? I don't see Steve, but Mike Moss, he was here earlier. Is Mike Moss here? And we got around, and we drank a few adult beverages, and we talked him into running for mayor. And then I will tell you what happened was, He was going on a motorcycle trip to, I think, Colorado, or when you rode those motorcycles all over the country. And before he left, I said, "You've got to sign the paperwork," because he wasn't sure he was going to run. We didn't give him enough adult beverages, I guess, but he wasn't sure when he left. And then he called and he said, "I'm running. Go ahead and deliver the paperwork." And he'd already signed it, and we had it all done. And we got him to run, and it's been a great run. And I want to just tell you, you have built a city, and you've had help and so on, but it was your vision and your leadership that has made Milton what it is, and maintained the character and integrity of what the citizens of Milton wanted. And I mean, it goes into the logo with the horse and so on. You've kept the characteristics of the city that these people wanted and the constituents wanted. And you can just tell by tonight, all these people that are here to celebrate you. So I just want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for your friendship, and thank you for what you've done for the city of Milton and really North Fulton. Your fingerprints are all over this city, and we're going to miss you, but I want to just thank you for your service. So thank you, Joe.
Senator Beach, I'm going to ask you to come back up again when Senator Albers is done. So our next speaker is your colleague, Senator John Albers. John is the senator for the 56th district, which is also part of Milton, including where we are right now in downtown Crabapple. He's a fourth-generation firefighter, and he chairs the Senate's Public Safety Committee. Please welcome Senator Albers. Senator.
Thank you, Steve. Boy, those are two hard acts to follow. It really is amazing to me, too, thinking about 15 years ago. I was talking to some folks earlier, and I remember when we parked the police cars and fire engine in Ron Wallace's house and garage. It's been a minute. But if you look around, and Joe, I hope you take a moment just to blink your eyes and take a mental picture of this. This is leaving treasures in heaven. What you have done has been extraordinary. And what I want to talk about for a moment is the things that are often done, but often not seen. We've formed a lot of cities since Milton became a city. And Joe Lockwood met with those folks, mentored those folks, told them about the things that worked out well and the things that were challenges. There were so many times that people have called him, and I know Dawn knows this. It wasn't during business hours. It was nights, and it was weekends. But it wasn't just maybe a city issue. It was, my business is in trouble, Mr. Mayor. I have a family problem or a family tragedy happening right now. And he went to work and started making phone calls and getting people together and things that literally saved some people's lives and business. And that's when you know you did something truly, truly special. I'm fortunate to represent 7 cities, but I've got a favorite. And they say you're not supposed to have a favorite mayor, but you've always been mine. So with that, I'm going to get a Senate resolution similar to what Speaker Pro Tem Jones did. I'm going to ask Senator Beach to come up. We did this together for the Senate, and my wife says I'm not supposed to read these, but I'm going to read it anyway because I think that it's important. So this is a resolution similar to the House that is forever enshrined in the history and the roles in the Georgia Senate, recognizing Mayor Joe Lockwood. Whereas Mayor Joe Lockwood has been recognized by the citizens of this state for the vital role he played in the leadership and deep personal commitment and welfare to the citizens of the city of Milton, Georgia. And whereas Joe Lockwood is a proud Georgian who represents the very best of this state and this country with his persistent selfishness, steady demeanor, big heart, relentless commitment to his community. And whereas Joe Lockwood started his business, J.K. Lockwood Construction, in Fulton County some 32 years ago. The same year, he married his beloved wife and partner, Dawn. And whereas Joe and Dawn raised their daughter and 2 sons in this area, and were very involved in all the local schools, with Joe loving nothing more than spending time with his family. And whereas in 2006, after the state legislature, thank you, Jan, paved the way for creating the city of Milton in the unincorporated part of Fulton County, Joe ran and became the first and only mayor of Milton, Georgia. And whereas during this 15 years and subsequent years that he served Milton, he evolved in the city council and handily won re-election 3 more times. And whereas Joe's popularity stems in large part from his sincere smarts, his authenticity, willingness to go the extra mile for citizens, which he has done again and again. And at city council meetings and beyond, Joe has proven to be an adept problem solver, a consensus builder, an able steward to preserve Milton's treasured rural heritage. And whereas Milton would not be the wonderful city it is today without Joe Lockwood, who never forgets what makes Milton special and those he serves. Joe will leave office here in January of 2022 as a beloved captain of the efficient, effective, responsive, and service-oriented government that respects his very own values. And whereas the people of Milton know Joe Lockwood as the best possible example of what a public servant should be, always ready to listen, lend a hand, and find solutions with humility and grace. And therefore, it is abundantly fitting and proper that these outstanding accomplishments of this remarkable and distinguished Georgian be appropriately recognized by the Georgia Senate. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. Godspeed.
Take a picture.
Thank you very much, Senators. Next up is Fulton County Commissioner Bob Ellis. First elected in 2014 to represent District 2, Commissioner Ellis is one of our partners in Fulton County and its government. He chairs the county's audit committee and for 2 years served as the Board of Commissioners Vice Chair. We're fortunate that Commissioner Ellis really knows and understands Milton, perhaps in part because he's fortunate enough to call Milton his home as well. So, Commissioner Ellis, come on up.
Thank you, Steve, and happy birthday, and it's great to be here with everybody tonight. I think back, when was it, 1996, I think. My wife, Jennifer, I think she was 10 at the time, but we relocated from Kansas City, and we were trying to figure where we wanted to live. We're both native Georgians, but we picked this area, right? And kind of partly because we were looking for a central place for her to find a job, but it was also, there's something kind of interesting about this place. Man, that was the best accidental decision we ever made. And for the past 6.5 years, I've had the great opportunity to represent North Fulton and serve 5 different cities. But this is the best one, and this is my home. This is the thing that kind of gets me going to be able to drive downtown and serve, because I'm serving my neighbors. And that's what you've been doing, Joe. I just can't really say enough about all the folks in this community who have made this what it is, some 15 years later. And everybody had a hand in it, and so many people had a hand in it. And we had the right leader to help not worry about who got the credit, but just to help bring it along. That's a unique skill. We've got a proclamation, which I'm not going to read in its entirety, but I wanted to, what basically it talks about is 4 or 5 things. Number one, it recognizes you for being a dad, husband, son, and being a great one throughout all of this, that you've had to do, because it's not easy. Families fall apart when people get involved in politics. That's for sure. You can trace it back all the time. Hadn't happened to you because you've always been grounded, and I'm sure they've all kept you grounded. Recognize you as a great business person. You've been doing all this stuff. At the same time, you've been focused on that. You've been tremendously successful. That takes a lot of heart and soul and effort just to do that and to stay focused in 2 places at the same time. Very unique to be able to do that for an extended period of time. Tremendous amount of endurance, tremendous amount of focus to be able to do that. Recognizes your political achievements, certainly, and it recognizes the fact that you've been a neighbor to all of us, whether we live next door to you or not. If we had an issue, we'd call you up, you had an ear, you were going to call us back, and you were going to help us out. And if you couldn't help us, then you were going to get somebody else to help us. And you've been doing that, and you've been so consistent about it. In my role, I get to interface with a lot of political leaders, right? We got 15 cities in the counties. We got a lot of mayors, got a lot of state folks, a lot of federal folks that we get to interact with. And mayors oftentimes tend to carry a little bit, sometimes, of strong personalities. There are a lot of alpha mayors out there, particularly in Fulton County. Joe's not an alpha mayor, but he has perhaps one of the best set of leadership skills of any of the mayors that's ever served in Fulton County. And we see the manifestation of that here tonight as we look back and reflect on the past 15 years of your service. So congratulations, Joe.
Thank you, Commissioner Ellis. Next up to the podium is John Harbour. By day, John is managing partner practicing law at the Herbert Legal Group. He also chairs the Milton Business Council. The Milton Business Council exists to support the great businesses in our community and is an affiliate of the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, which recently earned the prestigious 5-star rating from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. John, please welcome John up. Thank you.
It is my honor to bring greetings and congratulations on behalf of the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce and the Milton Business Council, and to celebrate the birth of this great city 15 years ago and the contribution of our great leaders, and especially Mayor Joe Lockwood in particular. While we celebrate Milton's 15th birthday, we also acknowledge the tremendous amount of work, inspiration, and perspiration that went into the heavy lifting just to get to the point in which our very own Representative Jan Jones initiated the legal process in January of 2005 in the General Assembly. To those leaders, we owe our deepest gratitude. You can be very proud of your legacy. When I was first getting to know Joe Lockwood, I would good-heartedly refer to him in the traditional mayoral title as Your Worship. We would always get a good laugh about that until Dawn told me to stop. Apparently, the mayor did not keep that fun just between us. I was not around in 2006 when Joe was chosen to be the first mayor of the city, but I can't say that the people chose wisely. Who knew where the city would be 15 years later? But during his time as mayor, Joe proved to be the person we needed. The last 15 years have been busy for Mayor Lockwood, raising a family, running a successful business, being a great friend and neighbor, and building a city. I, for one, cannot imagine spending a decade and a half in such an endeavor. Yet here we are. Mr. Mayor, we are here tonight to affirm that we did not take your efforts for granted, but having a steady leader was not something we had to worry about. Thank you also for your continued support for our chamber and its programs. You have always answered our call and have contributed without hesitation or limitation. In late 2019, with the support and partnership of our city and many people in this room, the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce launched a new initiative to create a business council and chose the city of Milton among its 6 cities. Although 2020 was not the best year to start a new business organization, we found much support and enthusiasm from our city's business leaders, elected officials, and city staff. We are truly grateful for the amazing support. We have emerged a viable and growing organization. To commemorate our founding, the Milton Business Council offered founding sponsorships to our members, and the following founding sponsors stepped up: Herbert Legal Group, LGE Community Credit Union, Go Agency, Jameson Private Wealth Management, Merge Software Group, Ansley Real Estate, the Kraft Dolan Team, Smith & Howard, and Rough House. We are commemorating this effort with our members in the city with a plaque to hang here in City Hall. Thank you for everyone who was a part of this effort. Once again, congratulations, City of Milton, and most of all, thank you, Your Worship. Sorry, Don, one more time. For leaving an indelible mark on our community. We're all proud to call Milton home.
The next speaker is here representing the Milton First Responders Foundation. This nonprofit consists of civic and business leaders with a driving goal to support Milton police officers and firefighters as well as their families. And year after year, this foundation steps up to do just that and reflect the love this community has for its officers and firefighters. I'd like to welcome the foundation's chair, Brian Dolan, up for safety words. Brian.
Mayor, Lockwood family, what a great night. And a passing of the torch. And Robin's here with me. Thank God for Robin. So you're going to probably hear a lot of these stories, right? There's indelible marks you're leaving, just like the Dolan family, the Pinto family. 7 years, our family's been part of Milton. We left that crazy place in Alpharetta to come to this place. And my wife, Laura, who's here, has been regaling the stories of how we got here. And now to see our daughters grow up, go to middle school, go to high school, now they've left the nest. How many stories of that are because of you, the team and the leadership that you built in this wonderful family? So it's just an incredible, indelible mark that you're leaving with so many families and so many stories that are yet to be told. And you'll probably hear them throughout the years. But of those 7, 8 years that I've been here, I've also been uber fortunate to be part of the 5 years of being chairman of the Milton First Responders Foundation. One of which you've been a huge supporter of, not only of our foundation, but of these first responders. And the word love is right on. We love our first responders. They're all back there. See them, love them. And boy, has it grown. To see the new firehouses, the police station, headquarters, it is just phenomenal, the investments to this fabulous first responder team that we have. So, I've been just super fortunate to have your support throughout the years for our foundation and what you've been able to do. And we just actually have something to honor you by with our plaque, just to really say thank you for your commitment, the years of your leadership, commitment, and support for our foundation, first responders, and ultimately our Milton community. Can't thank you enough. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Brian and Robin. Now you'll hear from the head of another extraordinary Milton volunteer-led nonprofit, Bill Purdy of the Milton Arts Council. The Milton Arts Council helps stage theater and orchestra performances, public art displays, and much more around our city. And no one has done more to help that cause than Bill Purdy. Bill, come on up.
Thank you for your patience. I'm still learning how to drive this thing. I had no idea that Black Friday shoppers could be so vicious. You've experienced that. Joe, you may remember, it was 5 years ago, almost to the day, that you swore me in as the first member of the Milton Cultural Arts Committee. It took about 6 months for the other members to be added to our committee, and we started our meetings. And none of us had experience starting a arts program in a city, so we had to kind of make it up as we went. One of the first things we learned is that as a part of the city of Milton, we were unable to accept donations from private citizens. We were also restricted in some of the grants because we were part of the city. So with your help, Joe, and your guidance, we spun off into a not-for-profit corporation of Georgia. And due to that, in the first 3 years, we raised over $40,000 in private contributions. We also acquired grants of over $30,000, most of which came from the Fulton County Board of Commissioners. Thank you, Bob. But in that time, our board of directors, with dozens of volunteers and hundreds of hours of effort, we were able to create a children's arts program, a camp. We staged 3 productions of our Milton Community Theater, 2 productions of our Milton's Got Talent show, 4 children's literary contests. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we introduced our program for seniors. This is for those seniors who can't come to us, so we take the arts to them. This is an underserved segment of our community, but not forgotten. So we had our first production of a theater presentation. We worked with the 2 assisted living facilities here in Milton, and I think it was a hit. So we'll go from there. Joe, we thank you for getting the ball rolling, and I guarantee you we will keep it rolling. Thank you so much for all your help and your guidance and advice.
Thank you, Bill. The next introduction is a special one for me for a couple of reasons. Stacy Inglis, our deputy city manager, has been with the city really from the very beginning. She started on as one of the contractors with CH2M Hill that got the city up and running. And the city is blessed that when CH2M Hill left, Stacy stayed on. And for the last 15 years and counting, she's been a smart, hardworking, dedicated public servant who appreciates and understands Milton, and most importantly, tolerates me. Stacy is going to come up and say a few words on behalf of our staff. Stacy?
Thank you, Steve. Sorry, I have notes. I can't talk off the cuff like you guys do. You're so eloquent in speaking. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight in City Hall to celebrate Milton and, of course, our very first and only mayor that we've had, the best one yet. As Steve mentioned, I'm Stacy Inglis, the Deputy City Manager for Milton. And he also mentioned that one of the originals, I actually got hired in December of 2006, but I was very pregnant and had to have a baby, and they waited on me. And so I came in March of 2007. And I mentioned to the mayor earlier, I said, we haven't really aged much at all, but our kids sure have. You guys were so tiny in some of these pictures. So it makes nearly 15 years for me here in Milton. And most of that time, city staff, our court, and our police department worked out of a nondescript office suites off of Deerfield Parkway. So this city hall and this event are both great testaments to how Milton has come into its own. I've seen the city evolve and really thrive. Blessed to be part of that, of a team that in our own ways did our best to help make that happen. And it is my honor to be here tonight to represent city staff, past and present. We've been fortunate to serve a terrific community of engaged citizens who really love and understand Milton, we've also been fortunate too to be guided by a city council that has consistently put Milton first in their decisions. I'm saving the best for last, of course. Working for any government can be hard, and I know I've worked for now 4. This will be my last one. And it can be especially hard, as was mentioned, when starting from scratch like we did. I mean, just imagine, we had nothing. We had no policies, we had no laws, we had a charter that was adopted, and no downtown. We had to create our own downtown. And isn't it fabulous? You can clap. It's all good. But what can make it easier is steady leadership. Someone who's not driven by an agenda or blinded by ego. Someone who is down to earth. And as you all know, if you know Mayor Joe Lockwood, he is one of the most down to earth people. He's as mentioned, he's not boisterous. Whenever you walk into the room, he's not, look at me, I'm the mayor of Milton. He actually kind of slinks back a little bit from all of that. He listens to and respects staff and works to help us succeed. Someone committed to finding solutions no matter how tough it is. I mention this all to emphasize how fortunate and privileged, really, we as Milton staff have been to have Joe Lockwood as our mayor all these years. It is not going to be the same around City Hall without your smile, your smarts, your calm demeanor, and your stories, which he has plenty of, and I so enjoy hearing them. To help you remember this place and the people who work in it, as well as our police and fire stations, we wanted to give you this. You can stay. You want me to hold it? So this is a print of City Hall, and the mat has been signed by Milton employees, and we hope you enjoy. And we also have that, this is by Curb Happy. It's one of Milton's businesses. They created that for you guys as well. And so you can go ahead and take it back. Thank you. You want a picture?
Thanks, Stacy. We'll airbrush in the other 159 members of our team into that picture. So our next speaker really needs no introduction. Of course, I'm talking about Peyton Jameson. Peyton began volunteering in Milton as a part of our planning commission, not to mention the many hours he spent leading the Crabapple Community Association. He was later elected to city council, serving as our mayor pro tem the last few years. And several years ago, Peyton became, several weeks ago, Peyton became, a few jokes there, became Milton's mayor-elect, meaning that in a few weeks, he'll become the second mayor in Milton's history. Mayor-elect Jameson, welcome.
Thank you. To my future council members, I promise I am not this long-winded, but I want to brag about Joe, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So whether it's 2006 or 2021, it's always great to be in Milton, and it's always great to be here in City Hall, or as I like to call it, the barn that was inspired by Joe Lockwood. I want to start by telling the story of my first real encounter with Joe. Fittingly, it happened in the old City Hall. It wasn't as nice as it is here, as we're standing here today, as everyone in this room probably knows how old City Hall was. I was about 2 years into my time on the Planning Commission, and I was suffering as chair through a very contentious zoning. During that time, I got a text message from a mysterious person. So when that text arrived, it was a joke about how I was getting absolutely chewed up and encouraged me to keep my head up. It was a perspective and humor that I really needed and I appreciated. Little did I know that mysterious texter would become someone who I'd work closely with over the coming years. Even back then, about 8 years ago, even before I'd ever met him in person, I knew that Joe Lockwood represented the very best of Milton, its government and its people. Of course, Joe is the only mayor that Milton has ever known. Fewer people know that his first victory was a surprise to many. Joe hadn't served in public office before running, nor had he belonged to the group that basically created the city of Milton from scratch. Efforts that I know he, myself, and everyone in this room are very grateful for. But he'd apparently earned a pretty decent reputation around town, including from his business, being the dad to 3 amazing children, and being Don's lesser half. So it ends up that people of Milton thought well enough to elect Joe as mayor, and pretty handily, then to do the same thing 3 more times. At the start, Joe was an understated, unassuming, hardworking underdog, and he still is, just like the city he's led so well these past 15 years. Many folks did not have high expectations for Milton or its government back in 2006. Until our incorporation, what's now Milton had been in too often neglected corner of North Fulton County. And the city government started with mostly contracted employees working out of bland, rented office space and with pretty low expectations. But with Joe as mayor, the city of Milton outperformed expectations again and again. We didn't open the door wide to any and all development, understanding the importance of respecting Milton's rural heritage and doing our best to incentivize large lots. And that's paid off, with more and more people wanting to move here because of that special feel. We didn't spend indiscriminately, making a conscious decision to live within our means using a pay-go system, and that's paid off. With the highest possible credit rating, a healthy contingency fund, and a government that more than weathered the COVID storm. We didn't support the cookie cutter building out of our downtown and city structures, like the distinctly Milton Public Safety Complex and the beautiful City Hall that we're in here today. And that's paid off, with people being able to feel like they're in Milton as soon as they cross our border. And that is very true. And that is something I think we all love and respect about our great city. We didn't create our city government just to check boxes, but rather stress the importance of being responsive, innovative, and proactive. And that's paid off, with routinely high satisfaction rates compared to those in other cities. And here's what we did do. We listened to our citizens, then acted on their wishes. We thought outside the box with an innovative approach to government. We worked to find solutions and forge a consensus, rather than getting bogged down in polarizing disagreements. We took governing seriously, even though we didn't take ourselves too seriously. And we emphasized again and again the importance of service. In other words, Milton's government has been like Joe Lockwood. Joe is a patient, attentive listener, a solution-minded consensus builder, a smart man who understands policy and understands people, an easygoing sort who's also willing to roll up his sleeves and do what it takes, and someone who would do anything for the citizens of Milton. Every time I've ever asked Joe for something, he's helped without a second thought. And I know that I'm not the only one. There are so many stories of Joe answering calls, heading to assist someone, and just generally being a great neighbor. Everyone who understands Joe knows it's not because he's trying to get votes. In fact, I say that Joe isn't a politician, at least in the modern sense. Instead, I call Joe the finest example of what a public servant should be. He's genuine, he's kind, he's patient, he sincerely cares, and he legitimately loves Milton. He's just Joe. So Joe, I know you still have a few meetings left with the council. As a small token of our appreciation from all the city council members that have sit alongside you now and in the past, I want to present you this gavel. Now, I expect you, starting in January, to stream those meetings on the big screen. And you can take this off and you can just gavel away. So on behalf of us, we want to present this to you. I don't know how to take a picture unless we're standing up here.
Get close.
So as Mayor Lockwood said, and that's all I can call him, I have never been able to call Mayor Lockwood anything other than Mayor Lockwood. Even when I talk to Dawn, I refer to him as Mayor Lockwood, which is probably kind of weird now that I'm saying it out loud. Dawn has probably sacrificed the most out of all of us, and she has to put up with an awful lot. I've gotten to know Dawn fairly well over the last 7 years, and the sacrifices that that family has made has been significant. And the mayor never talks about those things. But it's hard. The mayor people often think as the mayor, you're whisked around in a chariot and everything comes to you and things are great. The fact is, just walking into a room, 40% of the people already dislike you. His quote, not mine. So Dawn, if you would you mind coming up and saying a few words?
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. It's a little overwhelming, but we appreciate it so much. I feel like it was just yesterday that Joe said, I want to run for the mayor of Milton. I want to be the mayor of Milton. Here we are 15 years later. I don't know where the time has gone, but I do know that the city has been a blessing to our family and has given us more than we could ever give back. It's the only home that our children have known. They've grown up here. They've made lifelong friends here. They've gone to school here, learned right from wrong here. Our daughter has gotten married here. We will always call Milton home. The city has given Joe an opportunity of a lifetime. You've provided him a place where he can make a difference and pour himself into something long-lasting. As I close, I'm going to turn this over to Joe. If you would come up here. You're next up. And I'm going to speak for me and the kids in saying we are so proud of you and we love you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much.
Wow. As somebody said earlier, it's a hard act to follow, and I got to say, even the hardest one's probably following Dawn. So just want to thank all of you that are here. Thank all of you that have gotten up and spoken. Thank you all for your involvement in the city of Milton. This is overwhelming. What a great job you guys have done tonight. So Peyton, I want to thank you for stepping up and serving as our next mayor here. I got a picture here I want to put up there. And if you notice, I've got dark hair. I look young. So you see what happens. But all kidding aside, I certainly want to let you know that I'll be here as a citizen supporting you, supporting our council. We got a great council with our existing council members. Congratulations to the new council members. And I certainly hope, and I know everybody here and our citizens will support you guys also. So wish you well in the future, and I know you guys will do a great job. I look around Milton, and it's, we got the 15th year birthday. It's hard to believe how quick it went. And I think about Milton. Dawn and I moved to Roswell 1989. And it was kind of a compromise because I think she wanted to move into the city. And we looked around at houses in Buckhead, and I thought, there's no way we're going to pay $175,000 for a house. And growing up, I worked on my uncle's farm and some other farms in West Virginia, and I loved, always wanted to farm and some land. So Roswell was kind of a compromise. So we lived not too far here, and obviously it was not Milton yet, but it's just northwest Fulton County. And in my spare time, I would drive around, and I kind of went north from our house and found the area that is Milton now. And I just drive around. It helped me reduce stress, and I looked at all the beautiful land and properties, and just had a beautiful feel, a great feeling, and it just brought me joy. And I can remember we would have friends that would come visit from out of town or from elsewhere, and I'd say, "Hey, you got a minute? Let's hop in the car. Let me drive you around this really pretty area." And I'd drive them around Milton. Had no idea I'd ever live in Milton. Had no idea it would be Milton. And one day I turned down Doris Road, and I thought, well, my grandmother's name was Doris. I'll drive down Doris Road. And it just became one of my favorite roads. I saw the farms and beautiful land, and there was lakes on there. And so that was kind of my favorite little ride. And one day, I think it was right after our son Evans was born, I was a Sunday afternoon, I was just driving around, and I drove down Doris Road, and I saw this older gentleman out mowing the grass with a push mower along the road, and a little for sale by owner sign. What I didn't know is that he had, been trying to sell it for quite a while, and had kind of almost given up. The realtors had given up, but he put a for sale by owner sign, and I just waved and kept going. And then later, when I was coming back, something tugged at me like, "You should stop. You should just stop." And he was still out there. So I pulled in the driveway, at the edge of the driveway, and I said, "Hey, I like your place. How much are you selling it for?" And he said, "Well, drive on up the driveway." And I said, No. He said, Yeah, drive on up the driveway. So just a gravel driveway. Drove up there. I got out of my car. I walked over to the 100-year-old barn. I took a big whiff of, smelling an old barn with the wood. And I don't mean like manure, but just the smell of a barn. I looked around at the big trees, 100-year-old trees. I looked at the pasture, and it was a little ranch house that needed a lot of work, let's just say. And he said, "Well, do you want to look at the house?" And I said, No, don't need to look at the house. And what's interesting is later his son told me that he called him that day, and he said, "Billy, the man that's going to buy my house just left." So I went home to Dawn, and I said, "Hey, I saw some property for sale. It's like 5 acres." And she's like, "Where was it?" And I said, "Doris Road." And she said, "Oh, okay." Because in her mind, she was thinking, if we had to have property, we're going to have to move 100 miles away, out in the middle of nowhere. So we went over and looked at it, and I just knew for sure when she saw the house, it was falling apart, and we had a nice new house, and it just put a pool in and everything. And she was going to say no, but she looked around outside, and she goes, "Wow, this would be great for the kids, and we're way off the road, and they can run around, and be a great, we could make a family home of it." So long story short, a week later, I think we had that under contract, and somebody already had our house under contract. So it was just meant to be. And with that, I felt bad because moving from a brand new house to a little dumpy little house that needed a lot of work. And we just kind of put some Band-Aids on it because I promised her within 6 months we would renovate, add on to it, and make it our dream home. Well, 6 months went by, and we were up one day at our neighbors up around the horse arena, and looking around, and Dawn's like, "Wow, this property is beautiful. Wouldn't it be nice to have more property?" Well, sure enough, that property came up for sale. So we had to put our house on hold, and we bought another piece, added on to our property. But I said, "Okay, honey, but just give me a year, and then we'll have a nice house, a decent house." So a year went by. Of course, property behind us came up for sale, and it was interesting growing up because I remember my son Evans, just a little guy then. He had gone to visit a friend, and they lived in a neighborhood, and I'm sure a very nice house. And he came home and he said, "Dad, their house had a basement. It was awesome." And I said to him, "Well, buddy, if we wanted to, we've got this little house here, but we've got barns and woods, and you ride your dirt bike and stuff." I said, we could sell this, and we could probably move into any neighborhood you want." And immediately he goes, "Dad, you really don't need all that room." So long story short, and then I remember about 8 years after we had moved in and had promised to build at least a nice, decent house, Charlie, who we weren't even thinking about when we first moved there, was about 8 years old, and he said, "Mom, why does my bedroom have a door that goes out front?" Had to explain to the little guy, "Because you're in the living room." we didn't know we didn't know we were going to be here this long. So, but anyways, that's how we got here, and then eventually we did build a new house and all. So, 2006, in fact, Jan, you mentioned it, but could you ever thought, Milton would be such a great city and a great place? But 2006, the city was incorporated, and I don't consider myself a politician. I never thought about running for office. Just never crossed my mind. I was active in my community and but I had a few people came up to me and with the opportunity said, "Hey, you should run for mayor. You'd be good at it." And I just say, "Oh no, that wouldn't be for me." And a little bit later, a couple other people would mention it to me, and no, I don't know. And then later, a few more, and then as Senator Beach said, and some other people got with me and said, "Come on, you should run." And when I speak publicly, I tell people that and this is true. The real reason I ran was to help the community and give back and whatnot. But since you already kind of broke the news, I have to say it also helped having a couple of beers and your buddy pounding you on your shoulder, going, "Come on, I dare you, I dare you." So, anyways, I decided. I was hesitant, but I decided to run for mayor. And lo and behold, through a lot of friends that are in this room tonight. And a lot of people's support, I got elected. And then it's like, whoa, what do I do now? I got to admit, I was scared to death. And I remember the AJC called, reporter, wanted to interview me. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't even know what to say. But I always had thought with my business background and going back to running, as I said, I wasn't a politician, so my platform was simple. I would go meet people and I'd tell them, look, I don't have any experience politically. I'm not going to promise you I can do all this because I think if it could be done easily, somebody else would have already pushed a button and it would have been done. But what I will let you know is everything that's important to me is right here, what is the city of Milton. My family, my church, my friends, my kids' schools, our parks and recreation for the kids, my work, and again, and I said, friends. And so I said, I will commit to you that I'm going to do everything I can with common sense to make decisions that'll benefit you because guess what? That's all important to you. And if it's good for you, it's good for me too. So that's kind of the litmus test there. If I make a bad decision, guess what? It comes back and hurts me just as bad or more. So And I think our citizens engaged with that and supported me for it. So here again, I got after the first day of in office, I met with our skeleton staff that we had that was already set up, and they came to me at about 2 o'clock or maybe a little bit earlier and said, "Well, we've got a problem. Here's our budget, but it's in the red. We don't know what to do." And I didn't get worried or upset. I just said, you know what, let's meet, let's get everybody around here. And I said, this is just like I do in my private side at work. We're going to build a building and all of a sudden it's over budget. You know what we do? We sit around the table, we bring all the experts in. We bring the plumber in and say, well, what can you do to, change something or to save some money? What to the electrician or the drywall guy or the concrete? And I said, so let's get all our staff members, Parks and Rec, Public Safety, Public Works. And we all went around the table and we just batted forth all these different ideas. And within a few hours, we had a balanced budget. And what's been really nice is it's kind of the unique, I've heard people say, the Milton way. But starting a brand new city where you don't have any history, but you also don't have any things that you have to do this has been done for 100 years or, any waste or whatever. So we could think outside the box, just like all of you guys and we do on our private side. We could be efficient. We can say, well, gosh, just because they do that, we don't have to do it. We've got a new chance. So that made it fun. I'll tell you, talking about, and in fact, I didn't see you here till Steve mentioned it, and it's an honor to have you here. Chris was our first public safety director. So I know we talked about starting up police and fire. How neat was it to, get to buy brand new police cars and brand new fire trucks? And never forget, we got the first fire truck, and I said, "Come on, I want to go for a ride." We rode we rode through Milton High School. So, going back to kind of practical, out of the box solutions and issues, one example was, so we had inherited 2 fire stations, but we did not have one on our east side, and which was where about 45% of our population was. So we had a brand new ladder truck, and we just had to park it over our rented city hall and have the guys drive around just in case there was a call. So start looking over across the border there, and Alpharetta's got a fire station sitting there, and it's got a big empty bay. I started thinking, okay, this is outside the box, but Alpharetta, so I see you've got an empty bay. We've got a fire truck. We need a home for it. I said, how about this? How about if you let our crew, house our crew and our truck there in your empty bay, and if you don't charge us anything. I said, but I also noticed you guys don't have a ladder truck. So in return, your citizens, if there's a call in the area, we take our truck and protect you guys. So, and I could tell you hundreds of stories like that, but it's really neat when you can, without spending any money, extra money, you can help both sides and work together. So we've been very fortunate with our other cities, Alpharetta and Roswell and Cherokee County and Forsyth, to be able to partner on a lot of things, Johns Creek with that. So I think, Greg, Steve, what I have, about 3 more hours to talk? I'll try. So one thing I was thinking about before this, it's 15 years, think of 15 highlights, 15 different things that I'm proud of that our city has, that we have accomplished. Again, we talked about the public safety and, starting that from scratch. The 13 years later, you look at our public safety complex over on Highway 9, which was another thing where the school board built Cambridge High School. And for those of you that don't know, the school board can come in and put a school anywhere, and then the city has to deal with all the issues, traffic and congestion and all that. Well, it was a very congested corner, but there was 5 acres next to the school that was adjacent to Highway 9. So we bought the 5 acres and the city, and then got the school. We donated a strip of land so they could build a road through there, which in turn helped us to have all the infrastructure and access. And then we, built our future public safety facility. And if any of you guys have driven by or been there, it's pretty impressive when you talk about Milton-esque. It's the only fire station out there that has barn doors that open. So, and speaking of public safety and the guys that are here tonight and everywhere, I never want to miss an opportunity to just give all of our guys in uniform a heartfelt thanks, not only from me and our council and our staff, but our citizens, because, I'm sure all you guys appreciate them, but you got to think about it. These guys get up every morning, go to work, knowing that they're putting their life on the line for strangers, for our citizens, people they don't know. So, just kind of everybody give a round of applause for it. So one of the things, and Jan knows very well, when you start a new city, it's almost kind of mysterious or magical. How do you start a new city? There's not really, it wasn't like a book that said how to be a mayor. There also wasn't a book on how to start a city. So a very smart way to do it, in fact, the three or four of the new cities hired an outside contractor to come in and basically hire and manage and set up a city because they had the wherewithal and the credit and the backing and the expertise and hire employees and all. So originally when Milton was set up, we only had maybe 5 true employees. The rest were contracted out through a company. And that company, CH2M Hill, as Steve mentioned, did a great job and got us up and going. But then we kind of hit the downturn where we went into started in the recession, and we had to cut some budget numbers. And by then we had, and under Chris Lagerbrum's leadership, we had, along with myself and the council, we'd kind of figured a lot of things out. So by then we kind of figured, well, we need this and we need this department and that. So we were kind of, and I think some people were a little bit leery of us. We were the first city to not renew our contract, and it saved us about $1.5 million a year. And again, when I say we did things outside the box, your typical city's got 50 trucks and 50 employees that go out and mow the grass, and you've got all and pick up the trash and clean the parks, and you've got all the overhead and the costs. Anybody that has a business knows that, and retirement and whatnot. So we go out just like some of you guys, and we just took bids from private companies. And we went from $1.2 million, I think it was the first year, to just do a right-of-way maintenance, clean our parks and things like that, to we got a contract for $885 from the same company that was doing it. And then we bid it out the next year for $650,000 and did a better job. So the city of Milton's been different in the fact that we have carried our business on, the city's business and your government, a lot like you would in your private side. So that's been very, very exciting. Bell Memorial Park. I'm proud of Bell Memorial Park. You guys, I'm sure most of you have been there. Fantastic facility. When in the beginning, I remember taking my boys out there and playing baseball. There was 4 fields and it was a gravel parking lot. And you drive by there and look at it now, it's amazing. The city's very proud of that. We the other day we did a ribbon cutting at Providence Park. We inherited Providence Park from Fulton County 15 years ago. It sounds great to inherit something, but kind of like inheriting an old house that's falling apart. It had dilapidated structures, needed lots of work. It was all overgrown. And we get in there and then we find out, somebody had dumped a bunch of barrels of pollution, of pollutants there. So that took, 5-7 years just to get that rectified and out of there. Then we got in the planning stage. So anyways, long story short, the other day we do a ribbon cutting. We go down a beautiful half-mile paved trail, go out on a brand new dock and a pier on the lake, had a ribbon cutting, had a lot of folks there that have been involved. And I looked around and go, this is just amazing. And one of the neighbors, Charlie Lancelot, who had kind of taken care of the park all these years when it was closed down, he was there and he was just saying, I always thought he was like frustrated because it was taking so long. And I was explaining to everybody that, when you're dealing with taxpayer dollars and the government, things take a lot longer. But if you do them right, then it's definitely worth it. And he said that. He said, I look around now, this place was done right and it was well worth the wait. So, thank you, Tom, and all your guys on that. I think, everybody knows we want to preserve the look and feel of Milton. And everybody talks about the rural feel. And I mentioned earlier about kind of growing up on farms. And I used to say when people say, we want to keep this rural feel, I think, gosh, rural is barbed wire fences and dirt roads. But anyways, we've been successful through incentivizing large lot developments where, instead of somebody by right legally can develop X number of homes on a piece of property, we give them lots of incentives if they'll do less homes. And we're starting to see that really take off where, we're getting neighborhoods now instead of 1 acre lots or 3 acre lots and 10 acre lots and even bigger than that. So that's something I'm really proud of. As Peyton mentioned, we've got the city's had a great conservative financial philosophy. We got one of the highest credit ratings you can have out there. And again, we handle your taxpayer dollars just like you would in your own home and your own budget. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the transparency and the communication to our citizens. If any of you, and most of you are involved with the city or need something, we bend over backwards to make sure you get all the information and have access to everything. A big thing a couple of years ago, we had the $25 million bond that our citizens voted on for green space. And I'm proud to say that so far we've already purchased with that money 405 acres of permanent passive parkland that our citizens can use and enjoy, and it'll be there forever. So the former Milton Country Club, we bought that and are turning it into a passive trail system, but also the facilities, the clubhouse and pool and tennis. And it's really turning out great. I'm really proud of that. I have to say, I remember several years ago, right after the city's incorporation, and it was Alpharetta Country Club, and they came to us in our meeting. We had to change their alcohol license or business license. And as we were going through the process, I said, wouldn't you guys want to call it Milton Country Club? And they said, oh, no, no, no. We need Alpharetta. We need the name Alpharetta for recognition. No, we don't want to call it Milton. I kind of wish those guys were, around here now. Let them look around. I used to always kid the previous mayor of Alpharetta. I'd say, I'd tell that story, and I'd say, but look at it now. I said, look at all the real estate. Look at the real estate magazines and the ads for homes, and it always says, close in Milton location, great Milton location, Milton, this. And I said, but don't feel bad, David. I said, here's one for Alpharetta. It says Alpharetta, but close to Milton. So, as you come in and, you drive around and you look around here at Crabapple and our downtown, how neat is it to be able to start from scratch and be able to create your own downtown? So something we didn't inherit, but we were able to do it. And with some great talent, kind of see what we get here. Our festivals, Crabapple Fest and everything just every year grows. We've got a great place for it, farmers markets, everything that, and again, that's, the community here is really enjoying that. You look at City Hall here. I tell a story. Well, number one, as Peyton, I think Peyton mentioned, when we first started, we leased property. We leased an office. And that was an easy way to get in it. But it's just like, owning a home. Sometimes you don't want all your money to go away for rent. So we wanted to build our own city hall so that the money we spent on it actually goes back to the citizens. This is your property now. It's not we're renting it from a private individual. But when we started designing City Hall, and Chris was still here. We were working on that with consultants, and I remember taking the teams around, driving around Milton, showing them barns and showing them this, and we said we want something really different. And I think I remember, Chris, you and I had to go over and meet with at Alpharetta, and they had their new City Hall a couple days later, and just jokingly you called back and said, oh, never mind, the mayor likes the City Hall here with all the marble and the fancy stuff. So stop the presses. But anyways, just kidding around on that. But the story I tell people is when you look around here, we wanted to have that wow factor, but not as in a wow of this is fancy or expensive or ostentatious, but just a comfortable, wow, neat feeling. And as you go through City Hall, you'll see barn doors and you'll see modern looking layouts, but wood, and you'll see the little small rooms with, names of things that are on Milton. So we've had a lot of people want to copy this City Hall. And it's interesting because I tell people the architect that we hired to design City Hall had never done a City Hall before. And people look at me like I'm crazy. They said, why would you do that? I said, well, this is why. We didn't want it to look like a regular City Hall. So, I can't say enough about, we're all of us about what a great place to live. Always recognized one of the safest cities, best quality of life, many tons of other awards. It's just too many to repeat, but it's overwhelming what a great place this is. I was at a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and one of my daughter's friends had married a young man, and I was talking to him, and he had just taken on a new position with the governmental affairs office, and he goes around and visits with cities, and he said, would you mind if I come over? I'd love to pick your brain and whatnot. And I said, sure. And he said, because I got to tell you, he said, Milton is the buzz everywhere. He says, you guys are the bar that everybody wants to be. And he said, I was in Henry County the other day, and McDonough, and they mentioned, we really want to be kind of considered Milton the South. So, I'll kind of close with this. It's been just a privilege. I'm humbled just to be part of a community, an organization, a team, to get to where we are today. And, everybody asks me, they'll say, you did a great job and all that. And I say, you know what? I am one little piece. I said, I've got a great council, both past council from day one, current council, new council members will be here. Got can't give them enough credit. Got an absolutely great staff, as you guys can tell just by hearing, when they speak. One of my favorite things to do if somebody calls me and they're unhappy with the city, I said, come meet with me. And I'll walk them through and I'll introduce them, walking around City Hall, and introduce them to staff members and all. And by the time they leave, 99% of the time, they're, wow, this is great. I'm really impressed with our city. Is there anything I can do to help? It's interesting. A lot of people from the outside have a typical thought of government, folks that work for a government, and they're just there to get a paycheck and maybe not working really hard. I can tell you from my private business and being on the private side, to every employee I see here, put them on top. They're in the market with as they care, they work hard, they're committed. It's every one of you guys that are here and not here, I am so impressed with just the caliber and the commitment that our city staff have, and they truly care about taking care of our citizens and serving you guys. So we're very fortunate for that. We're fortunate, part of the teams, the volunteers, the boards and commissions, those folks that, take all their time and do all this stuff just, to volunteer. That makes a big difference. That's one of the things that makes Milton so great is everybody cares and they get involved. I certainly, got to give all the credit to my family, my friends. They're all here tonight. It's just overwhelming, but, and also just owe a great debt of sincere thanks to our citizens, because our citizens who are really who have the biggest part of our team that has made Milton so great. So I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It's been a absolute, up and down ride, but it's been a great experience. I've met so many great people. I feel like as a team, we've accomplished so much, and just proud to call Milton home. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight.
So I'm not going to try to follow that, other than to express our gratitude for all those who made today possible. And for those of you who don't know, this was about as stressful as talking about sewer expansion in Milton. You could hold the applause. We'll do it at the end. But from our staff, Courtney Spriggs, Anita Jupin, who also did all the flowers, Jen Hartwig, Greg Catello, David Bergmeyer, Susan Wilmoth, Tammy Lowett, and David Frizzell. For the great food, we had Ashleigh Lee from Charcuterie, Gloria Matee from Nothing But Cakes, and Kelly and the team from Curb Happy, which did the artwork for the city of Milton for the Lockwood family. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you for making not just tonight's special, but every day special here in the city of Milton. It's always kind of awkward to end these things, so I won't. I offer you all the opportunity, if you feel so inclined, to join us next door at the Old Blind Dog. We'll have some light snacks out there, cash bar, and I'd like to thank you all for being here. Thank you very much.